Hey everyone, this is Dr. Lori,
And JDP.
and you are here for Coach's Corner, where we're going to talk about a variety of coaching topics, and we're going to be real with each other, and we're going to be real with you.
We're here to have fun, interesting conversation about coaching, but from our own perspective and our own personal point of view. And hopefully you'll get something out of the conversation. And remember always, you are excellent. So when we talked the last time, it was all about how you said that coaching is like going to the gym. It's like your personal training.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that I came back with was, yeah, it's kind of like if we look at it in things in terms of how we want to develop our bodies. And my goal is to get a six pack. And I just go to the gym for a week. And then at the end of that week of doing nothing but crunches, hopefully more than 20, which is, I think I can crank out 20 pretty good. Beyond that, but maybe I start off with 20 and then end the week with 40. Could happen. And I look down and I'm like, hey, I don't have a six pack. What's going on? The hell? So how does this relate to coaching?
Well, so when you talked about going to the gym and developing your six pack, when I think about this related to coaching, one of my things these days is about power skills. Right? Some people call them soft skills. I don't like that term because the skills that we're talking about communication and developing psychological safety and listening, are so important to advancement. And these are not things that you're just born with, right? Just like we're not born with a six pack, right? These are things you gotta work at. You gotta work at, and you gotta have help. When I've gone to the gym and I think I'm gonna do these things, and I try out the machines because that's what I like, oftentimes I'm not doing it right because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm not doing it efficiently, and I'm not making the progress I want to see. And for me, coaching is like that. When I went to the gym, I needed somebody to say, use this machine this way, pick up this weight of dumbbells or a kettlebell, and here's the way that you gotta do it. So for me, I don't see the development of power skills any different.
Yeah.
You can do it the hard way. I could watch a bunch of YouTube videos, or I could accelerate it by actually spending some time with someone who knows what they're doing.
So we're equating coaching to like a personal trainer, right?
Yeah,
Because to continue the gym analogy, there's, yes, you can lift 100 pounds and not realize any benefit. But if you take half that weight and do use the correct form, oh man, you're going to totally blow up.
exactly. Right? You might have thought, well, the more I lift, the stronger I'll be. So let me just go for it in the biggest possible way. And because we're not experts at at everything, we don't know that, as you suggest, doing less weight and more reps might actually get you where you need to be.
So today we're talking about coaching in terms of what were we talking about, Lori? In terms of physical fitness, right? That like going to the gym. And it was really kind of interesting that, we're talking about coaching in those terms. So, Lori, to help me out here, what are we going for?
Well, so we're having this great conversation about coaching being like developing your body, right? I
Mm.
am in no way an expert on physical training. I think I know, but I am in no way an expert. And in order to get stronger, you have to work at it, right? But you also sometimes need someone walking by your side telling you, pick up this weight this way, or go down in weight and go up in reps. And it really helps to get where you're going to have someone point the way out to you and walk beside you. I know that's true for me. I am not a genius. In some ways, this has been my own son helping me and telling me and showing me. And I think coaching is much like that. It's someone by your side, helping you to figure out where you need to go, pointing out the way to go, challenging you when you don't think you can lift as much.
Well, in in terms of the gym, that's really a tangible, there are no shortcuts
There are
kind
no
of
shortcuts.
thing, right? Where we can say as coaches, well, you or as mentors, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do it this way and this way and this way. In the end, it's up to the individual. For example, like we talked earlier, I was talking about the desire to have a six pack, right? And I go to the gym, and at the beginning of the week, I do 10 crunches, and I'm like, wow, by the end of the week, I'm doing 40. Woo, look at me go. But at the end of that week, I'm like, okay, I don't have a six pack. What the hell? So, how does coaching help me in that regard?
So I love this. I think it helps in two regards, right? It helps us to set realistic and appropriate goals. But the other thing that I'm thinking is that if I am your coach in the gym, I don't see you every hour of every day, right? You have to make that commitment. But what my coach in the gym does is help me be accountable for what I said I would do,
Mm-hmm.
right? I said I was going to do 40 reps twice a day. And then maybe I would get closer to the results I wanted. And so when I go back, or when you come back to me at the gym and you're telling me, well, I'm not seeing what I want to see, we can have a conversation about that. And I think the same is true with coaching. You want to develop your power skills? You're struggling, that it's not as easy as you thought, right? Sometimes it's time for a tune-up.
The
I
coach is
know.
the coach is with me 24 hours a day. So to continue the gym analogy, right?
Yeah.
Exercise is part of it, right?
Exercise is part.
Diet is another part, not cheating, because again, some folks have a sweet tooth, right? And staying focused and keep holding yourself accountable to the goals that basically you're setting, and your coach is there. They're not going to do it for you. Matter of fact, your coach might be, especially in the gym, like my my gym, these people look like they stepped out of an athleisure catalog. I mean, they look amazing. But the bottom line is that's them. That's not me.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
And the bottom line, if we go back to a lot of research, whether it's in the gym or building our power skills or building our communication skills, it actually takes at least 6 weeks for a new habit to start to click. It ain't
6 weeks.
6 weeks. It's not going to happen in a week. It takes time and repetition, to your point, right? It takes time. And, it's hard to be that committed over that long of a time.
So how do we work on motivation, right? Because you say, oh, it takes 6 weeks to build in a new habit. Okay, so 6 weeks, and you said repetition. Well, I'm looking at that going, dang, that's a long haul. And okay, when we talk repetition, let's continue with the gym analogy. That means going to the gym every day at a set time, doing your circuit, and during that time meeting with your coach along those 6 weeks, maybe once a week,
Yeah.
right? And they're going to prescribe a sort of like an exercise regimen. And Tuesdays is, like some people, Tuesdays is leg day, and then Wednesday is chest day, and whatever.
Yeah. It's great.
Although I can see some folks in the gym with those big chests and chicken legs, which anyway, that's another story. It's just funny.
Like their coach, not
There's
their coach is either listening to them and giving them what they want, or they're not gently suggesting that, a balanced body, right?
or maybe they're just saying, okay, I'm gonna wear my sweats at the beach, and all I care about is my front and back of my arms, and everything
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
I can hide. But the repetition, the dedication, the goal setting, the commitment to goals is really what we're talking about here.
That is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We as human beings change when we want to. No one can force us to make changes because they think it's a good idea for us. We have to want it in ourselves for some reason. Either we have an internal personal goal that I want to get to a certain place in my career, or we've had a review with our manager and they've said, well, Lori, you're doing these things great, but ooh, we're hearing some stuff and it's probably holding you back, right? Those kinds of things, either of those kinds of things can be motivation to us of any kind, but I have to want to change. Otherwise, I'm not going to go to the gym every day. I'm not going to work at it. I'm going to slip back into my old habits of having a big bowl of ice cream or, going to the bar, drinking some liquid calories, which of course is not a good idea.
Yeah. So.
Well, right. Or I can go the lean protein, high veggie route, right, and accelerate my growth.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get to those 6 weeks if I'm not motivated internally.
So so you have an accountability partner, right? My coach is my accountability partner. My coach is showing me the proper technique in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Prescribing maybe a couple of exercises that I really should be doing and how I should be doing and showing me how and making sure I have the right form and say, okay, you're off. There you go. And then, next work on this week, next week we'll work on something else.
Yeah.
That in and of itself should be motivating, but how can the coach act as the motivation partner?
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh. So great question. And when I work with clients, it's about checking in, right? It's about reporting back. And I know this works for me too, right? I've had wonderful mentors in my life, bosses and people who I was not directly reporting to, that helped me. And over time I would go back and we would say, how did that work? Lori, how did that work? Well, I don't know, Dan, this week was really hard. I tried and it didn't work. And we tweak it. We tweak it. And so for me in my coaching role, this is about helping my clients try things out. What might help you? What's stopping you? What could you do? And having them come up with some options, sometimes with some assistance from me, but having them come up with some options about what they could do. And the reality is, we don't know if it's going to work. We try and we tweak until something works and we get some successes.
Ooh.
And then we high five. And then we celebrate those successes.
Celebrate the success. Yeah.
Celebrate the success. Celebrate the success, whether it's big or small. I'm all about celebrating your successes, and sometimes they're small. But celebration, positive reinforcement works, y'all.
There you have it, folks. That was awesome. I believe in the accountability partner, but I also believe in the motivation partner, and I believe in the celebrating the successes partner as well, right? Because again, when we seek to grow ourselves and expand ourselves, it's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. But you said earlier, we could do it by ourselves, but are we doing this thing are we getting to our goals in an efficient way, the right way? And coaching provides us with someone that not only supports us, but challenges us to get to that goal, motivates us in a way, right? And also helps us to celebrate when we achieve our goal.
Yeah, you reminded me of something. I often say to people, if you're motivated and courageous enough to engage in coaching, you'd be amazed at how far you can get by having someone a partner by your side. It takes motivation, but it also takes courage. Engaging in coaching is an act of courage. It's not easy to say, there's something about me that I want to do better, or I want to change. It's not easy to do that. So for anyone who's thinking about doing that, engaging in coaching, who has already engaged in coaching in some way to make some changes, I salute you. It takes a huge act of courage to say, I want to get better in some way. I want to change myself. And so, courage and motivation for me are the magic.
Courage and motivation, yeah, because for me, it's focus and commitment. For me, when I decide to do a thing, I'm in. You're either in or you're out. For me, there's no, like my mother would say, there's no half-ass in it.
So John, what helps you keep your focus?
Uh,
Speaking of which, what helps you keep your focus?
what helps me keep my focus is not only setting a goal, but the plan to get there. For me, big things are achieved in little bitty steps, right? I take again, for my neurodiverse brain and how it works,
Yeah.
it's big things can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Let's face it, right? And so I'll take that big thing and break it into milestones, and take those milestones and break them into steps. Some people might call them phases or whatever, whatever works for you. And then I kind of say, okay, here we go. And then I tackle that first step. And then the next one gets a little easier, a little easier, a little easier. It's like there's a saying in Navy SEAL school. Now, I've never been in the military, I've never been a Navy SEAL, but there's a saying: yesterday is harder than today. Today is easier than tomorrow. Tomorrow is easier than today, harder than yesterday, or something like that.
Something like I get it. I get
Right.
it.
Today is easier than yesterday, harder than tomorrow. Yeah, there it is. So that's the way I look at it.
It reminds me. So now that you're giving me this sort of theoretical example, I want to bring this back to the practical. This reminds me, I've seen this in you. So
Ooh.
just so y'all know, John doesn't just talk the talk, John walks the walk. John and I studied for our big credentialing exam together, and I saw this in him about breaking this down. And you know what? It kept me motivated too. We all have different styles, but it kept me motivated. And by the way, speaking of other things we talked about, we had weekly check-ins.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
We did.
And we called each other on this. And we were each other's accountability partner.
Yes.
And it was remarkably helpful. So just making it real.
Well, when you like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go the distance, go with somebody.
I love this. This is an African proverb, and I love it. One of my favorites.
I'm good for those, girl. I have a million of them.
It's a wonderful one, right? I mean, and I've seen this at work too, right? I have probably 100 examples of where it would have been, well, on both sides, where it was faster to just do it myself. Okay. But also when I brought people along, the effects were bigger, deeper, stronger, and more lasting. But I had to get out of my own head and say, remember that fast isn't always the goal, Lori, right? Fast isn't always the goal. So, there were a lot of times in my career that I learned these things. I learned them the hard way. I learned them the slow way. I did learn. But having someone at my side to help me with them, and I did have people, but having somebody dedicated to me might have accelerated that learning.
Yeah, and that's the trick, right? Or you have an accountability partner that helps you get down the road, and it's kind of like pairing up and going towards this goal together, right? We had a goal, right? This exam that we were studying for, and all this other kind of craziness stuff, and then you're right, and supporting each other. And that's kind of like what a coach does. It's like along that journey with you to provide you not I don't want to say guidance, but to be there with you, to supply you with what you might need it at a given moment, asking you the tough questions.
Oh, asking you the tough questions, holding up a mirror to let you see within you what's there.
Yeah.
And you're right, the powerful questions, right? I
Yes.
mean, you've done this to me, and I've done this to clients, and you've done this to clients. The questions that make you go, oh, when you've asked me questions like that, there are questions where I just have to literally sit back and say, I hadn't thought about it that way, and stop me in my tracks. Those are the ones I like. I love when someone can stop me in my tracks, get me off of my rote way of talking, and make me think differently. Somebody who's going to challenge me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Confident human.
Sometimes that's the hardest part, is to challenge your assumptions
Yeah.
and be able to see them for what they are. Like one of our instructors at our coaching program, say what you see. Right? It's not me interjecting myself into your narrative. It's like, dude or dudette, here's what I'm seeing.
Right. And how valuable is that to have somebody outside of yourself say, I know what you see in your head, I know what you think, but I'm going to tell you, here's what I'm seeing. I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. And let's talk about that. Oh, JDP, that's not actually what I was intending. I know you're seeing that, but that's not what I was intending to communicate. Oh, okay. Let's talk about that, Lori. Let's talk about why that is. Let's
And
talk about how I saw what you were trying to communicate. Oh, maybe that's why I was having some issues with work partner B.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that, saying what you see is one of the most powerful forms of powerful questions.
Yeah.
Ones, I guess, right?
Yeah. Building that. So I have to trust my trainer, right? Because I have to trust that this person isn't, knows what they're doing,
Right.
right? And the difference between the going to the gym and having a physical trainer and going to a coach and having a what I would like to call a mental trainer is that in the gym you can see the results. Look at my look at my guns and look at me. And, oh, wow, right? And I have lost weight. It manifests in a physical way.
Yeah.
But when we look at coaching, it's it on the one hand it's hidden, and on the other hand, it is it does manifest itself externally by the way you walk, by the way you talk, by the way your attitude, the way you look at things around you, the way you even question not only yourself but your assumptions.
Yeah. So let's talk about how do you know that coaching is working? That's what I'm hearing.
Ooh.
I know that coaching is working. I can see it. I don't have, okay, from a girl's perspective, I don't have granny chicken wings. Okay, I don't have Bubby chicken wings. Okay, I could see that, and that would clearly be a goal here, but don't intend to have that. How do you know that it's working? You know, coaching, much like physical training, is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. So how do you know that it's working? I mean, I can give you some examples. Maybe you can give me some
Oh,
examples,
cool. How
right?
do I know it's working?
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to give you the consultant's answer. Depends on what I'm after.
Ooh, very good consulting answer.
You got it.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So concretely, you know, you and I have both engaged in a lot of coaching and mentoring and have been mentored. I want to say that. I want to put it back on us.
Right.
When you've had good coaching or good mentoring, what changed for you?
Mm. And I can honestly say that it impacted me in a couple of different ways, this specific example. Because number one, I had to challenge my assumptions about myself and my own capabilities. The second thing, I looked at things differently because some people might call it a shift in mindset.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And with those two things, it actually helped propel me to this next level. It's kind of like I was pushing against the membrane and then I broke through to the other side, as the song says.
Ooh, nice. Okay,
Just
yeah.
those two. But it was tough to get there. It was very tough. But once it happened, what? Okay, this worked for me. And in large part, it was due to the coach challenging me and relentlessly. This person, talk about accountability partner, didn't give me an inch, just like, but that is what I needed. Now, remember in the conversation, they were like, I was like, talking, and they're like, oh, we need to have that conversation. You realize the amount of trust that you have to have in someone, and them to basically say to you, oh, okay, here's what you need to hear right now.
Coaching is courage.
Coaching is courage.
Engaging.
How about you?
Wow. So I have a great example of something that happened to me just recently. It was a mindset shift. How I had always behaved, and I have to go to this event because I've always gone to this event because I have this responsibility and this obligation, but I was feeling anxious about it.
Really?
And this is something that's months off. And my coach, my accountability partner said, do you have to? And I had to sit back. Maybe I don't. Let's talk about this some more. And they challenged me about why I thought it was so mandatory for me to be there. Why was I putting myself in a situation where I was going to be uncomfortable out of obligation? And it took me, this actually was a one-time turnaround for me. And it took me a while to realize, Lori, you got to rethink this. Things have changed. The world is not the same. Your situation's not the same. Rethink your assumptions. And I left that conversation feeling lighter, right? It gave me permission to think in a different way. But that coach pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, not past where I needed to go, but to a point where I started to say, okay, I'm going to look at it differently.
And you looked at it differently. How did you operate after that? Not to the event and whatever, but what was the growth that you experienced?
Great question. The growth for me was to know that I have choices. I have choices, and I'm the one in control, right? I'm not a young person. I'm going to be a granny. I'm going to be a bubby. And I don't know why it took me this long to realize that I have choices. I am not constrained. And I guess I knew that intellectually, right? But this was a real growth moment for me to say, it's okay to not go. It's okay to focus on what I want and not what everybody else wants. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a bit of a, mind blown moment for me.
Lori, let's land this plane.
Let's land it.
All right. So I'm not sure exactly how we would land this segment. This is our first Coach's Corner.
Yeah.
And we've had a great conversation, but I'm not sure how if you're out there, you're watching Lori and I, drop a comment. Let us know how we bring this home for you. So Lori, let me ask you the question. How would you bring this home for yourself? What are your takeaways here?
Well, I'll answer that and then you can answer it.
Okay.
All right. Fair is fair. For me, as I'm thinking about what we talked about, I keep coming back to this idea. that courage and commitment to growth makes a big difference. I had to be courageous to actually engage in that kind of a personal conversation yesterday about, me having choices. I had to trust that person I was having that conversation with. As we just talked about, the lightness and the freedom that I felt and the way that it has shifted my mindset, right? And it may take a while for that. It may take 6 weeks for that to really, for that muscle in me to be fully developed. But I had hope and I felt good after that. And I felt stronger after that. So if we're tying, the gym and coaching back, I felt stronger. And I think for me, the courage to engage in that kind of conversation, the courage to be open, even just yesterday, resulted in some really powerful shifts for me. So be courageous. Ask
So
for
I
help
see
when
what
you
you
need.
did there. I see what you did there. You brought the strength back to the gym, back to that 6 weeks, back to that six pack, back to courage. All right, girl. Well, for me, I know I got to get to the gym because my one pack is just getting bigger by the day. Uh, but for me, I would bring this home by saying, look, trust in yourself. Trust
Good.
that you're making the right moves. And if you don't have that trust, get yourself an accountability partner. Get yourself somebody in that corner, right? A disinterested third party, right? That's not going to be like, oh, like my mom. Oh, look at him. He got muscles. I'm like, Mom, come on. I weigh 450 pounds. I don't weigh 450 pounds, but you know what I'm saying? Come on now, Mom. I don't
Love
have.
you anyway, right?
I
Yeah.
got muscles, but I want to see them. Versus somebody who's going to say, yeah, so you say you have muscles. What makes you so certain?
Let's make sure everybody else can see those too.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. This has been Coach's Corner with Dr. Lori
JDP.
and we have been delighted to be here with you today. Hope you got something powerful out of it and check in next time. Looking forward to talking to you.
And always remember, you are excellent.